Though when I did write a couple of angry letters about the public school system, those did get published. I thought I was going to surprise Carol with the interview story. I thought she might have forgotten it. I remember it very well. The fact that I had a butter chicken and a tandoori roti, I also remember. She probably had only a lemonade or something. But what I have carried from that interview, it was one of the first. I had done, I think, one film at that time. This was 75, 76. Nishant and Junoon. And what I do remember is the compassion with which Carol asked me the questions and the attentiveness with which she listened to the answers. I have to say that in the next 39 years of giving tiresome interviews, I have probably never come across that kind of an attitude in an interviewer again, which I think is a terrible pity. A lot of the time you're being asked a question and the interviewer is fiddling around with a slip of paper somewhere, not even listening to what you're saying, nodding in an automatic manner. So that's about the only thing that I can say, which would, to my mind, be the requirement of a good journalist. Now, obviously, one can't expect a journalist to get involved with every single person he interviews, like you can't expect a doctor to get involved with every single patient he treats. But the doctor may not get emotionally involved, but at least he's attentive. That is a quality I find lacking in a lot of the journalists who pursue their professions in our country and are only a lot of the time waiting for the apt line. Anyway, this is not an occasion to go into a litany of complaints against the quality of journalism in our country. It's an occasion for celebration, and it's an occasion of joy and wonder. When I was a student in school, I was very poor in class. I have no embarrassment at all about confessing that. And I wanted to be an actor from the time I was 14 years old, nothing else ever, but I had no clue how one goes about being an actor. So I did consider, well, maybe I can be a newsreader on the radio. There wasn't even any television then. Maybe I could be a journalist. And there was nowhere that one could go. There was no one could seek advice from on how does one go about. Of course, the thought of being a painter or being a sculptor or a cartoonist or something is even more far out than that. I remember, in fact, I wrote letters to the Hindustan, to the Times of India and the Statesman, which were the two leading papers in those days, saying I'm a student who wants to be a journalist and where can I study to be a journalist. And of course I got no reply from any of those papers. They probably didn't, I don't know if they even received those letters. Though when I did write a couple of angry letters about the public school system, those did get published. So I think they decided to ignore my pleas about wanting to become a journalist. They probably had enough such requests. This will connect to the fact of my happiness at being here, present here today among so many aspiring journalists and media people. That when I was a student at the National School of Drama in Delhi, I had to travel home to meet my parents. When my sons say the very same thing to me now, it doesn't feel so good. But the fact is, I did have to. And they lived in Dehradun, so I had to do the journey by train, the glorious Dehradun Express, which takes almost a day to get from Delhi to Dehradun. And of course, on any train journey in India, the person sitting next to you feels obliged to inquire about your entire family. And having found out all that, he wants to know, what do you do? So when I was asked this question, I would debate with myself, should I say I'm doing a BA, should I say I'm studying SNC? And then I'd say, no, the hell with it, I'd come out with the fact and I'd say I'm studying in the National School of Drama. Huh? would be the reaction? Kha? National School of Drama. अच्छा, ड्रामा का भी स्कूल होता है? क्या सिखाते हैं वहाँ पे? So after a few bouts of this, I just decided to say, I'm doing my MA at Hindu College. And that was the end of the conversation. So, thanks be to heaven, and thanks be to the people who dedicated themselves to making sure that media work, whether journalism, reporting, whether news reading, whether acting, filmmaking, editing, whatever it is no longer in the realm of a fantasy. It has become real, and this is something which I have been trying to tell young actors for years, that when I was 14, I decided I wanted to be an actor because I saw the other kids in my class deciding they wanted to be engineers, or they wanted to be doctors, or they wanted to join the army, or and so on, and started preparing for it. So I thought, well, why can't I decide now and start preparing for it? And of course, I received no help, so I do take the credit for doing a lot of it on my own, but now there is a lot of help available. There is advice available. There are examples in front of you. There are institutions which are willing to answer your inquiries. It's a great situation. Yeah, I'd like to stop the cliche, oh, to be young again, you know. Youth is wasted on the young, that's a fact. So I really wish that when I was a student and when I was hoping to become a journalist, a place such as the St. Paul's Institute for Communication Education had existed, and I could have come here. Well, there was no time machine available at that in those days. There still isn't. But I wish I wish the institute well. Obviously, I wish the students have a great time here. And I'd like to add something to what Subhashji said about the unemployable MBAs, the people who go around carting their degrees, but who cannot answer a simple question. To those who come here, and to the instructors too, I'd say this. Do not feel that you've learned everything in the 6 months or the 9 months that you're going to spend here. Remember that you're only being able to learn the alphabet while you're here. To use a much tired phrase, your education will continue through your life, and the real learning will only happen on the job. And it is really true that any kind of education imparted to you kicks in years and years and years later. The stuff that one was taught in physics and chemistry begins to make sense to me now, 50 years after I was taught it, and it put me to sleep in class. So that's very important. Please do not make the mistake of a number of film institutes who encourage the creative people to think of themselves as the final authority and the final word, and as creative geniuses. You're not. Genius, as everybody has said, is 99% perspiration. So if you want to be a genius, go ahead and shed that 99% perspiration. But don't ever apply the label to yourself. And remember that you cannot write a book unless you know the alphabet. You cannot compose a piece of music unless you can read music, unless you know music, unless it's in your veins. You cannot make a great movie unless you know the basic grammar of the job. And the trouble is, with a lot of film students, before they know the grammar, before they know the alphabet, they are intent on producing masterpieces of cosmic importance. It's important for you young creative people to deal with the issues which matter to you, rather than to prove to the world how intelligent you are. Whether you are intelligent or not is something the world will judge in posterity. So that's all I have to say. Thank you very much for your patience.